Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Jujutsu Kaisen. Gojo family swordsmith refuses to be cut in half. Chapter 31. Jujutsu World, Blacksmiths Association. I heard that the fake 6 eyes of Gojo's family seemed to have failed in forging again. Cursed tool masters Takeda Hirai and Yosuke Goto looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. Ever since the Gojo family heard about the mysterious Zanpakuto cursed tool, it has had a huge impact on the entire cursed tool forging world. Everyone is waiting for the follow-up results, waiting for the 6-year-old pseudo 6 eyes boy Gojo Ming to be able to forge a second Zanpakuto. For the Cursed Tool Blacksmith Association, they very much hope that Gojo Ming will not forge this special cursed tool that can subvert the future of the cursed tool world. Originally, Gojo Ming's master Gojo Zui was not a master accepted by the mainstream cursed tool forging world. Now, a brand new heresy has appeared in the Gojo family, and the entire cursed tool forging world is even more unwilling to accept such a result. Whether it fails or succeeds, we cannot allow the Gojo family to break the rules of the cursed tool world. An old voice sounded behind Takeda Hirai and Yosuke Goto. Grandmaster Kamo. The person who came was the only remaining master in the world of cursed tool forging, the forger of many special grade cursed tools, Kamo Makoto from the big 3 sorcerer family's Kamo family. Currently serves as the president of the entire cursed tool forging association. Kamo is really white-haired and energetic, and his figure looks like that of a middle-aged man. Long-term forging work has made his physical fitness far beyond his current age. If it weren't for the age in his voice that couldn't be concealed, everyone would probably think that he was just a middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s. As a member of the Kamo family, Kamo really knows the embarrassing position of the Kamo family in the entire Jujutsu world. As the Grand Master of Cursed Tool, no matter how lofty his status is in the world of Cursed Tool, it cannot change the current shortcomings of the entire Kamo family in the level of Jujutsu masters. Especially the Kamo family's exclusive Jujutsu technique, the Red Blood technique. Currently, the entire Kamo family can't find a few Jujutsu masters who can use the Red Blood technique. If this continues, the entire Jujutsu world may no longer need the big 3 sorcerer families, and the Gojo family and the Zenin family will just be the 2 most powerful families. Therefore, for the future of the Kamo family and its dominance in the cursed tool forging world, Kamo must never let it be shaken. In particular, it is the people of the Gojo family who will shake the foundation of the cursed tool world in the future. This person is also a twin brother of 6 eyes of the Gojo family. If Gojo Ming has the support of the entire Gojo family, he can successfully and continuously forge that mysterious and weird cursed tool. The reputation of the Kamo family in the cursed tool world may be taken away by the Gojo family. In Kamo's opinion, this kind of thing is absolutely not allowed to happen. He is the only remaining cursed tool forging master and the absolute authority in the entire cursed tool world. He has extremely high connections and can use a lot of power. He would not let Gojo Ming spread his influence so unscrupulously. In the forge, Gojo looked at Gojo Satoru, Gojo Ming and Zenin, with uneasiness on his face. Master Wu, Master Ming, Mr. Shear. What do you want to do? 5 minutes later, Gojo turned pale as he watched his, Xing Ming, being taken away. Master Ming couldn't find cursed tool as material, so he directly focused on his own cursed tool. Although Gojo Shunichi was very shocked by Sota Shirayuki's existence, he still didn't want to take risks with his, Shin Ming. Don't worry, Uncle Shun, I have found a pattern, and I will definitely succeed this time. Listening to Gojo Ming's reassuring words, Gojo's face suddenly became even more bitter. He had been hearing this reassurance for almost a month, but he really couldn't rest assured. After all, the entire forge is already filled with the remains of many cursed tools. Among them is a first-level cursed tool that he has never used. In this way, Gojo instantly watched Gojo Ming enter the forging state, integrating Shin Ming into the embryo. The sound of ding ding dang continued to sound, and the sound of Gojo's hammer seemed to be hit in the moment of Gojo's instantaneous heart. Coming. The feeling is coming. A trace of seriousness appeared on Gojo Ming's face, and he felt that he had entered the state of forging Sota Shirayuki before. At this moment, the sword god possessed him again. It's done. Open black lens bracket ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully forging the Zanpakuto Kiyomizu. Close black lens bracket. Hearing the system notification sound in his mind, Gojo's strings that had been tense for a month finally relaxed. Gojo Ming closed his eyes, holding the Zanpakuto that looked like a shallow sword in his hand, and took a deep breath. It seems that there is no problem with the system, and there is not only one Zanpakuto that can be forged. Close black lens bracket. All this shows that when I forged the Zanpakuto, I must have lacked some suitable qualities. Close black lens bracket. Other materials seem to have no impact. The most critical thing should be the cursed tool used as the material. Close black lens bracket. I thought before that the higher the quality of the cursed tool, the easier it might be to create a Zanpakuto. Now that I think about it, I was wrong. Close black lens bracket. The second level cursed tool, Xing Ming, was eventually forged into Yutakwang and Tosen Kanami's Zanpakuto, Xing Chong. Obviously, there is some special connection between the two. Close black lens bracket. Gojo Ming closed his eyes and fell into deep thought. He was thinking about the relationship between his Zanpakuto Soda Shirayuki and Yi Ning, and also thinking about the relationship between Zanpakuto Kyomiji and Feng Ming. The birth of Soda Shirayuki is related to the frost quality in Yi Ning's body. The birth of Qing Chong should be related to the function of Xing Ming. Gojo Ming feels that he seems to have grasped some elements, but he still needs to continue to explore. Seeing Gojo Ming standing silently with his eyes closed, Gojo suddenly felt flustered. He felt that his old friend might have fallen into scrap like the previous cursed tools. Gojo Satoru and Zenin also had traces of disappointment on their faces. If they continued like this, they really couldn't support Gojo Ming's forging experiment. Failed again. Well, it seems it failed again. That seems to be the case. The familiar conversation between Zenin and Gojo Satoru appeared again, but this time, a smile appeared on Gojo Ming's face. Who said it failed this time? There was no discernment at all. Gojo's voice echoed in the forge. For a moment, the entire forging room fell into silence, and then Gojo Satoru and Zenin looked at each other, their eyes full of surprise. Gojo Shunichi, who looked ecstatic, rushed to Gojo Ming's side and looked directly at the shallow sword in Gojo Ming's hand. It's really a success. It's exactly the same as Soda Shirayuki's appearance at the beginning. They all look like this. Close black lens bracket. Because he had personally touched Soda Shirayuki in a lightly beaten state, Gojo Shunichi still had an impression of what a shallow beater looked like. The battle sword in front of me was really successfully forged. Master Ming, what is the name of this Zanpakuto? Gojo Shunyi's eyes were full of excitement. He wanted to know, is the name of this Zanpakuto still Shin Ming? Gojo Ming paused and said in a deep voice. The name of the Zanpakuto is Qingmushi, and it is a Zanpakuto forged with the help of Xing Ming's characteristics. While saying this, Gojo Ming threw the light attack directly to Gojo Shunichi. The moment Gojo came into contact with the clear insect, the system prompt sounded in Gojo's mind. It is detected that the host is lending the Zanpakuto to others. Activate the borrowing sword function. Close black lens bracket. Borrowing sword function 1. The Zanpakuto forged by the host belongs only to the host himself. When other people use the Zanpakuto, they all borrow the sword from the host. When the host chooses to take back the Zanpakuto, the corresponding Zanpakuto will return to a shallow state for recovery by the host. Close black lens bracket. Sword borrowing function 2. When the borrower uses the Zanpakuto, the corresponding experience will be provided to the host as the rental fee for the borrowed sword. Close black lens bracket. Borrowing sword function 3. The borrower needs to get the response from the Zanpakuto in person before he can use Kaikai. When the borrower successfully achieves the swastika, the system will randomly draw a skill from the borrower and give it to the host. Each Zanpakuto can only get one chance to draw from the borrower for the first time. Close black lens bracket. Borrowing sword function 4. The host can observe the outside world through the perspective of the Zanpakuto, and can temporarily talk to the borrower through the spirit of the sword. Close black lens bracket. Gojo Ming was startled by the system's beep. Originally, he thought that because the system had collapsed, the only remaining functions were Zanpakuto forging and Zenkin-zuki. Unexpectedly, after giving the clear insect to Gojo Shunyi, he could actually awaken the system's sword borrowing function. Although he only glanced at this function, he could feel the power of the borrowing sword function. If the two functions of forging and slaying fists and demons are constantly laying the foundation for oneself, then the function of borrowing sword is completely raising one's upper limit. The borrowing sword function clarifies the ownership of the Zanpakuto, which means that even if I build a powerful Zanpakuto for Zenin, if Zenin becomes my enemy in the future, I can still pass it. The borrowed sword function disables Zenin's Zanpakuto. At the same time, he can also absorb the combat experience of different sword borrowers through the sword borrowing function. The most frightening thing is that if the borrower can get the Zanpakuto's recognition, put the Zanpakuto into a state of submission, and succeed in swastika, he can also randomly select a skill from them. Gojo Ming still doesn't know what this skill will look like. It is also full of randomness, but this is a blind box with no upper limit or lower limit. If I can extract the domain, infinite space, from Gojo Satoru, doesn't this mean that I can enter the same state as Gojo Satoru? The only regret is that a Zanpakuto can only extract the skill once. This also means that Gojo Ming cannot lend Zanpakuto swords to others in batches. After harvesting the skills of one group of people, he can then recycle them and distribute them to the next group of people. This restriction also made Gojo Ming realize that the system was telling him that every sword borrower needs to be carefully screened. If a Zanpakuto is lent to an ordinary person, Gojo Ming will most likely only be able to obtain some sparse and ordinary skills. However, for the current Gojo Naru, the most powerful, or most unreasonable function is that he can share the vision of the Zanpakuto, and at the same time, he can talk to the person who borrows the sword through the Zanpakuto. This means that even if you don't leave home, you can feel different battles, and you can even directly turn your Zanpakuto into a remote phone to directly contact the person who borrowed the sword. Gojo Ming frowned slightly. He had just hastily understood the basic functions of each function. When you become familiar with it later, I am afraid these functions can also play other different functions. Then, Gojo Ming opened his system panel. He saw two Zanpakuto appearing in his Zanpakuto showroom section. Zanpakuto. Soda Shirayuki Possessor. Gojo Naru Borrower, none. Zanpakuto. Chingmushi Possessor. Gojo Ming Borrower, Gojo Shunichi. Gojo Ming immediately regretted it, but once the person who borrowed the sword for the first time was determined, he could no longer change it. If you change the person who borrowed the sword, even if the second person successfully puts Ching Chong into the state of swastika, you will also lose an opportunity to extract skills. Gojo Ming looked at Gojo Shuni waving a clear insect, and his heart was filled with pain. Gojo Shunichi is currently only a second-level Jujutsu master. Even if Chingmushi can complete the swastika, the quality of the skills he provides will definitely not be higher than Zenin Jinji or Gojo Satoru. So, this time he was at a bit of a loss. Gojo Ming's expression was a little helpless, but thinking of this, he still shook his head. After all, this is the first time to use this function, so let Gojo try it out and be a guinea pig. Chingmushi is also the Zanpakuto that best suits Gojo Shunichi. If such a Zanpakuto is used by Gojo Satoru or Zenin, it will not fit their fighting styles very well. At least, after getting the Zanpakuto Kiyomizu that he borrowed, Gojo Shunichi will basically not betray him again in the future. Just think of it as exchanging a Zanpakuto for the loyalty of a second-level Jujutsu master. Although he still felt a loss, Gojo Ming quickly calmed down the random thoughts in his mind. Ming, is the forging really successful? An excited smile appeared on Gojo Satoru's face. He had been worried that Gojo Ming would lose confidence due to the failure of forging. Now that he saw the birth of Ching Chong, he could finally relax. The birth of Chingmushi not only means that Gojo Shuni possesses a mysterious cursed tool, it also means that Gojo Ming can truly forge a cursed tool such as the Zanpakuto. Such cursed tool is destined to subvert the entire cursed tool world. Zanpakuto Sleeve Shirayuki, Zanpakuto Seimei. In the future, there will be other Zanpakuto, and more mysterious techniques will appear in the future. The entire Jujutsu world will be affected by the Zanpakuto. And Gojo Ming will become the founder of Zanpakuto and a popular presence in the entire Jujutsu world. There is no jealousy in Gojo Satoru's heart. This is his younger brother, another six eyes of the Gojo family. Although he does not have the power of magic, he still has strong strength and can still stand at the top of the Jujutsu world. Zenin was also surprised by this result. In his opinion, Spending half a year researching how to forge a special zanpakuto like this should be very worthwhile. If he were the head of the Gojo family, he would definitely invest all his resources into Gojo Ming. It has only been a month now, but many people in the Gojo family have already wavered in their support for Gojo Ming. This makes Zenin very disappointed with the Gojo family. Big three sorcerer families, big three sorcerer families. Sure enough, even the Gojo family who gave birth to Six Eyes would still have this kind of unreasonable impetuousness. However, Gojo Ming was able to complete the forging of the second zanpakuto within a month, which was not at all part of Zenin's plan. He believed in Gojo Ming and was even ready to fight a protracted battle with Gojo Ming. But no one expected that Gojo Ming would realize this. Is it a cleansing insect? Zenin whispered the name. Although he knew that the zanpakuto was very cherished, he still did not covet it. Perhaps, the art of clearing insects is also very powerful, but Zenin feels that this zanpakuto is not very suitable for him. He believed that since Gojo Ming could forge a second zanpakuto, his own zanpakuto shouldn't be around for too long. Master Ming, what is the power of this handful of insects? Gojo suddenly waved the zanpakuto in his hand with joy, feeling a little excited inside. After seeing the power of Soda Shirayuki, he was also full of expectations for the clear insect in his hand, looking forward to whether his own clear insect could be as powerful as Soda Shirayuki. In Gojo Shunichi's opinion, as the forger of Ching Chong, Gojo Ming should be very familiar with Ching Chong's abilities. And this is indeed the case. However, Gojo Ming did not tell the information about Ching Chong. Gojo Ming remembered the system prompts. If the borrower wants to use the zanpakuto's ability, he must get a response from the zanpakuto. Even if he told Gojo Shuni about the beginning of clearing insects at this time, Gojo Shuni would not be able to successfully clear the insects. After all, Gojo Shuni had just taken Ching Chong into his hands, how could he be familiar with Ching Chong so quickly? Uncle Shun, you need to explore the ability of Chingmushi yourself. Each zanpakuto has its own soul. When Chingmushi responds to you, you will naturally know the ability of this zanpakuto. Gojo Ming's words were somewhat incomprehensible, but Gojo Satoru and Zenin were shocked. They finally realized why Gojo Naru's Soda Shirayuki was so powerful and why he could use so many techniques. If this Soda Shirayuki is a living creature and has its own soul, then all this seems to be explained clearly. Cursed tool with a soul. Gojo Zui, who had been silent when Gojo Ming forged the cursed tool, suddenly spoke. Naru, don't tell anyone else the secrets about the zanpakuto. Especially the fact that the zanpakuto has a soul. Gojo Zui's expression was very solemn, and his tone was also extremely serious. This made everyone at the scene stunned for a moment, wondering why Gojo Zui said this. However, everyone knows that Gojo Zui will not act without aim. He must have his own deep meaning, and they are all waiting for Gojo Zui's subsequent explanation. Seeing everyone's eyes focused on him, Gojo Zui took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. Why do you think there are cursed tool users among Jujutsu masters? What do you think is the difference between cursed tool and cursed object? Gojo Zui's question caused the scene to fall into silence for a while. They had never thought about such a topic before. Once a Jujutsu master is proficient in using a cursed tool, they can be called a cursed tool user, and this is the definition known to them. But what exactly is the difference between cursed tool and cursed object? Gojo Satoru can't explain clearly, Zenin can't explain clearly, Gojo Shuni can't explain. Gojo Ming understood the hidden meaning that Master Zhou Yi wanted to express. Is it because the cursed tool is just a tool, so Jujutsu masters can use it without any scruples? And cursed object has a soul, so. Gojo Ming's response shocked the three people present. Gojo Zui nodded slightly and explained. The cursed tool can be said to be a weapon containing curse, so it can help us exorcise the cursed spirit. And cursed objects are items that condense curse. Inside every cursed object, there is an uncontrolled soul hidden. Gojo Takuya's words reminded Gojo Ming of Sukuna's finger that Itadori swallowed in the future. Yes, Sukuna has been dead for so long, and the fingers left behind can still possess such powerful power. This should be the power of the soul. Therefore, can the zanpakuto that he forged by himself be defined as a cursed object in the eyes of the outside world? Gojo Ming realized Gojo Zhou Yi's warning to him. His current strength is still not strong enough. If the secret of Zanpakuto is known to others, this will most likely become the reason for others to criticize him. After all, things like cursed object are very evil in the eyes of the Jujutsu world. Several people at the scene nodded silently. They know that the Zanpakuto forged by Gojo Ming is not a cursed object, but a genuine cursed tool. However, in this era, half a step from Superman is a genius, and one step from Superman is a lunatic. Gojo Ming's technology has achieved a dimensionality reduction blow to other cursed tool blacksmiths, and he will definitely be regarded as a thorn in the side of cursed tool blacksmiths. In this case, if someone catches something like this, although it will not affect the Gojo family, it will always make people feel disgusting, right? Shunyi, please protect the secrets about Ching Chong. You should know that this kind of Zanpakuto has absolute special characteristics. According to your current strength and level, you should not be able to possess a Zanpakuto. Gojo Zui started singing blackface for Gojo. You are able to possess a Zanpakuto that no one else has, simply because of your special relationship with Satoru and Naru. I know that you have had contact with the Curse sect before, but from today on, I hope you can really realize whether Naru and Satoru can lead the Gojo family forward, or can the Curse sect lead it. Gojo was shocked for a moment, and after a moment of silence, he nodded firmly. For a moment, Gojo will follow Gojo Satoru and Gojo's lead from now on. After Gojo made his position clear in an instant, the atmosphere in the entire forge room relaxed again. Afterwards, Gojo Ming began to let Gojo Shunichi get used to it first, to see if he could communicate with Ching Chong and master some Zanpakuto abilities. On the side, Gojo Satoru and Zenin were also curiously surrounding Gojo Shunichi, looking forward to what kind of performance Chingmushi would do next. After diverting the three people's attention, Gojo Ming put all his energy into the system. Chingmushi has successfully borrowed the sword at this time and belongs to Gojo Shunichi. Therefore, the option, Chingmushi Perspective, appears in the Zanpakuto showroom in Gojo Ming's system panel. Gojo Ming clicked Ching Chong Perspective and the next second, he felt the world spinning. When he came back to his senses again, he saw the faces of Gojo Satoru, Zenin Jinji and Gojo Shunichi around him. And his body was shaking with Gojo Shunyi's swing of the sword. Is it like this? This kind of vision is quite adaptable. Close black lens bracket. I should be able to see everything Uncle Shun sees in the future. As for the conversation function, don't try it today. It will be difficult to explain if you scare others. Try it again later when Uncle Shun is acting alone. Close black lens bracket. Gojo Ming felt the power of the system and switched his vision back to his own body. At the same time, he felt a little regretful. It's a pity that many functions of the system are missing. If the system were complete, wouldn't I be able to do it every second? After sighing in his heart, Gojo Ming's perspective turned back to his body and looked at Gojo Satoru and Zenin. After getting used to it, switching from the clear insect perspective to the main perspective is equivalent to changing the TV station, and there is basically no delay. Gojo Naru stared at the two and thought, what kind of Zanpakuto should he forge for Gojo Satoru and Zenin? There are many kinds of Zanpakuto in the Shinigami world. If he finds the corresponding materials, he can forge a Zanpakuto at will and give it to Gojo Satoru and Zenin. They don't know the strength of these Zanpakuto. However, this means nothing to Gojo Naru. The Zanpakuto he borrowed must be powerful enough. Only in this way will the borrower think about how to resonate with the Zanpakuto, and develop the functions of Hakake and Swastika, and will he have the opportunity to acquire the skills of the borrower. Therefore, there are not many choices for Gojo Naru. Regarding Gojo Satoru, Gojo Ming already had a choice in mind. Gojo Satoru hopes that his Zanpakuto will be very cool and match his out-of-the-box personality. Gojo Ming believes that Gojo Satoru will definitely be very satisfied when he sees the Zanpakuto of his choice. As for Zenin, the Zanpakuto that suits him makes Gojo Ming a lot confused. For the purest physical power, in fact, every Zanpakuto can be regarded as a supplement to Zenin's strength. However, in terms of strength, he cannot prepare an ordinary Zanpakuto for Zenin. At least it should be a Zanpakuto used by a captain-level figure to be consistent with the identity of the tyrant of heaven and earth. And a Zanpakuto suitable for use by Zenin. A name came to Gojo Satoru's mind. Well, it seems pretty good. These two captain-level Zanpakutos are very suitable for Gojo Satoru and Zenin. Close black lens bracket. However, next you should look for a cursed tool suitable for forging the corresponding Zanpakuto. This time, you have to carefully choose the corresponding cursed tool. If the connection between the cursed tool and the Zanpakuto is not close enough, I am afraid it will continue to fail. Close black lens bracket. Gojo Ming made up his mind and quietly pulled Zenin aside. What's wrong, Master Gojo Ming? Zenin's tone is a bit yin and yang. When alone, he always likes to call Gojo Ming, young master. It seems that this yin and yang will make him very comfortable. Listening to this irreplaceable title, Gojo gave Zenin a helpless look and whispered. Sheer, you should also know something about cursed tool. Can you help me see if the Zenin family has these two cursed tools? This is related to the Zanpakuto I am going to forge next. Gojo Ming mentioned his request again. Originally, he wanted to collect the corresponding cursed tool directly through Gojo's house. However, after this month of squandering, he felt that the head of the family would not throw more cursed tools at him. After all, Wudu had already applied in person before, but was not able to apply. Before Gojo Shunny liberated Qingmushi, no one would think that their forging was successful. After all, seeing is believing and hearing is believing. Gojo Ming also felt that it was a bit unreliable to get the approval of the family owner with just a shallow blow, so now, it seems that it is more convenient to rely on the capital of the Zenin family to find the cursed tool with corresponding attributes. Of course, he will not give up and continue to apply. After all, he has now found the corresponding path, and there is a high probability that he will not cause such a high cursed tool loss like this month. Do you want a cursed tool like this? I haven't paid attention to it before, but I can help you find it. Zenin nodded, then looked directly at Gojo Ming and said with a sneer. If I'm not wrong, you should prepare this next Zanpakuto for Gojo Satoru, right? Zenin has a look on your face that I have seen through. In this regard, Gojo Ming did not comment. One of the cursed tools was indeed prepared for Gojo Satoru, but the other cursed tool was considered specially for Zenin. However, his energy is limited and he cannot forge two Zanpakuto at the same time. If Zeninji really can find a cursed tool that meets his requirements, then after forging Gojo Satoru's Zanpakuto, he can directly give Zeninji a huge surprise. Thinking of this, a strange smile appeared on Gojo Ming's face. He wanted to know how the head of the Zenin family would feel when he found out that Zenin, a man without any magical power, had such a special Zanpakuto in his hands. The more he thought about it, the more Gojo Ming felt that the Zanpakuto he had prepared for Zenin was really suitable for his status. Master, why are you still here? Go to the dojo quickly. Have you forgotten what you have planned for today? Suddenly, a young man broke into the forge house. Gojo Shunichi, who was testing the knife, and Gojo Satoru, who was watching from the sidelines, subconsciously turned their heads. Katetsu, why are you here? Gojo retracted the insect in an instant, his eyes full of doubts. The young man in front of me is called Gojo Katetsu, a Kirigiri from the Gojo family sword dojo, and his favorite disciple. In the current Neon, the general swordsmanship schools will divide the disciples into several types, such as paper cutting, directory, all-in-one, etc. If I insist on describing it, paper cutting is equivalent to a disciple who has just started. During the inspection period, he only needs to practice the basic skills, and the catalog is listed on the door wall. He has begun to learn the art formally and can already acquire certain techniques within the school. Kaden means that the skills within the school have been fully acquired, and they are also allowed to submit their own school name in external competitions. Take Gojo Katetsu, for example. Before competing with others, he did not dare to sign up directly and say that he was Gojo's Gojo Kyoryu. He could only dare to say that he practiced Gojo Kyokushin's technique when asked by others. Just because I don't have the title of Chuan, I am not qualified to say it at all. The last one, teaching without permission, refers to the ability to teach the skills of this school to outsiders without getting permission, which means that one can become a master and has the qualifications to open a dojo and accept disciples. Gojo Shunichi himself is the master of Gojo Kyoryu. Not only can he teach in the Gojo family's dojo, but even if he leaves the Gojo family, he can also open his own dojo outside and recruit disciples to teach. Looking at his apprentice, Gojo looked confused for a moment. During this period of time, he had been wandering around the forge, Gojo Naruto and Gojo Satoru, and couldn't remember that he had any special arrangements. Moreover, this time, it was the disciples of the dojo who came to find him. Does it have anything to do with the dojo? Ah, master, don't you know? Didn't Lord Shangyan inform you? Gojo's eyes widened and his face turned pale. He thought that Gojo Shuni just didn't remember the time, but he didn't expect that his master didn't know about it at all. A month ago, Master Zeman of Yagyu Shininryu issued a kendo challenge to you, and we agreed to have a fight at the Gojo family dojo today. This battle will determine whether you can enter the ranks of the 4 great masters of swordsmanship. You won't always be unprepared, right? Gojo Katetsu noticed that Shunichi was confused, and he was also very worried. Sword masters are very cautious in duels. If one of them is slightly unprepared, they may lose in the battle. He remembered that every time before, his master would prepare for a long time in advance when facing the master's challenge. This time, Master Yagyu Zeman of Yagyu Shininryu had already arrived at the dojo, but the master was still playing here, which was really beyond his imagination. This guy Yagyu Zeman challenged my ranking. When did it happen? Gojo frowned slightly. He had no impression of this agreement at all. However, recalling what Gojo Katetsu said just now, he seemed to remember that before he argued with Gojo Shangyan and had a conflict, Gojo Shangyan seemed to have raised the challenge of Yagyu Shininryu. Originally, Gojo Shunichi himself did not accept it. It was supposed to be the result of an unhappy breakup, but I never thought that this guy Yaguzeman would come directly to the door. From what his disciple said, it was probably Gojo Shangyan who agreed to the offer on his behalf. Thinking of this, Gojo's face turned dark for a moment. Now that his dojo has been attacked, no matter how ill-prepared he is, he can't hide aside and not show up. However, Gojo was a little confused about this. He seemed to have had a premonition of his failure this time, knowingly or unintentionally. After all, Yagyu Zeman's strength was almost the same as his own. Now, the other party is well prepared, but I am not prepared enough. The probability of winning this battle is very small. Master Wu, Master Ming. I have to accept the challenge of Yagyu Shininryu first, and I may not be able to stay with you two for the time being. Gojo hesitated for a moment and was about to hand the clear insect in his hand to Gojo Ming. He hasn't finished exploring this Zanpakuto yet, so it would be best to hand it over to the forger for management first. However, what surprised him was that Gojo Ming shook his head. The Ching Chong already belongs to you, and it is your partner. Every battle you fight may be recognized by it. For this kendo challenge, use this Ching Chong to try it. Gojo Ming naturally would not take over Ching Chong. Gojo Shunichi is a sword borrower, and he can only gain his combat experience when he uses Kingming. If Ching Chong is left here, he will end up eating ashes in the warehouse. After all, I still have the more convenient Soda Shirayuki to use, right? Therefore, make the best use of everything and let Gojo Shuni start clearing the insects as soon as possible. In this case, maybe he can start the beginning solution as soon as possible, achieve the swastika solution as soon as possible, and provide help for himself. This kind of result is what Gojo Ming wants to see. Seeing Gojo Naru's decisiveness, Gojo Shunichi did not refuse and nodded firmly. Yagyu Zeman and him are not only kendo masters, but also jujutsu masters. His, Xing Ming, has disappeared. If he temporarily changes to a cursed tool, he may use it even more awkwardly. Although Ching Chong was not similar in shape to the previous Xing Ming, he could feel an incomparable sense of familiarity when holding it. At least, when it comes to weapons, I don't have to worry about being too unfamiliar. Let's go and watch. We will all have Zanpakuto before and in the future. Maybe we should also learn about kendo. A hint of curiosity appeared in Gojo Satoru's pair of blue eyes. He had always known that Gojo Shunichi's level of swordsmanship was very high, but he didn't quite understand how high it was. Now, the master of Yagyu Shininryu comes to challenge. This is also a rare opportunity for a master showdown. Zenin was originally not interested in this kind of thing, but when he heard Gojo Satoru talk about kendo learning, his heart moved. Okay, I've never seen a real duel between sword masters. Zenin and Gojo Satoru hit it off immediately, and then both of them looked at Gojo Ming at the same time, wanting to know Gojo Ming's decision. Gojo Ming thought for 5 seconds and finally shook his head. I just finished forging the Qing worm, and I feel a little bad mentally. You go ahead. Just remember to tell me the results when you come back. Gojo Ming yawned, and sent Gojo and others out of the forging house. After that, he said hello to Gojo Zui, and lay down on the bed to close his eyes and rest. Gojo Ming did not go to the dojo together this time. Part of the reason was due to lack of energy. At the same time, he also wanted to do an experiment to see if the distance between Chingchong and himself would have any impact. After all, the distance between the Kendo dojo and the forging house is still very far. If, in this state, I can still clearly see everything happening around me through the clear insects, then it is equivalent to myself being a bystander. When he arrived at the venue, a sturdy middle-aged man was waiting impatiently. The man was wearing a black kimono, and his whole temperament was like a sharp sword, waiting to be unsheathed at any time. This person is the master of Yagayu Shininryu, Yagayu Zeman. I've seen Gojo's extremely elegant hospitality, but I didn't expect the Gojo family to be so arrogant now. Yagayu Zeman's face was full of dissatisfaction. Although it would have been rude for him to come to challenge someone, but since Gojo has accepted the challenge, etiquette should be observed in everything. This time, Gojo Shangyan and Yagayu Yusuke served as witnesses respectively and were already in place. If he hadn't known that Gojo Shunny had his own arrogance, Yagayu Zeman might have suspected that Gojo Shunny had escaped. Zeman, be patient, we are guests. After hearing what Yagayu Zeman said, the old man sitting next to Gojo Shangyan spoke to stop him. As a family of jujutsu masters, the gap between the Yagayu family and the Gojo family is very large. If it were not for the inheritance of Kendo, the Yagayu family would not even be qualified to sit with the Gojo family. Regarding this challenge, Yagayu Yusuke was still a little confused. He hoped that Yagayu Zeman could defeat Gojo Shunichi and become one of the 4 great Kendo masters, but he was worried that Gojo's defeat would make the Gojo family feel dissatisfied. After struggling for a long time, Yagayu Yusuke, the head of the Yagayu family, agreed to Yagayu Zeman's challenge application. Compared with the Gojo family, which has 6 eyes and is getting more and more popular and famous, the Yagayu family is very weak in comparison at this time. If they are still unable to gain a corresponding reputation in Kendo, the Yagayu family may be reduced to the lowest level of family in the Jujutsu world in the future. This Kendo challenge not only involves Yagayu Zeman's status in Kendo, but also the Yagayu family's status in the Jujutsu world. Gojo Shangyan remained silent on the side, and he had already guessed a reason why Gojo had not appeared until now. Obviously, Gojo Shunichi is still with Gojo Satoru and Gojo Ming at this time. The Kendo master of the Gojo family simply forgot that his roots were in the curse sect of the Gojo family. Does Gojo Shuichi really think that without the support of the curse faction, he can have such a status in the family? In fact, Gojo Shunny's immunity was all obtained by his own efforts. Gojo Shangyan's face became increasingly ugly. While waiting, the air pressure in the dojo became lower and lower. Not only Yagayu Zeman, but also the Gojo Kyokuryu disciples present felt the inner dissatisfaction of Gojo Shangyan. Just when Gojo Shangyan's emotions were about to explode, a rush of footsteps came from outside the dojo. As the door opened, Gojo's figure appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Gojo Shangyan was just about to curse, but the next second, a figure appeared behind Gojo and he subconsciously swallowed back the curse words. Master Wu. Gojo Shangyan, like Gojo Zui, has the ability to distinguish the difference between Gojo Ming and Gojo Satoru. Therefore, the moment 6 eyes appeared, Gojo Shangyan had already recognized the identity of the person behind Gojo Shunny. Zenin Shear beside him also made Gojo Shangyan's expression slightly startled. Since the last time Zenin Shear and Gojo Ming fought, the people of the Gojo family have a new understanding of this carrier of heavenly restriction. Although the man in front of him has no magic power at all, his personal physical fitness is really strong. Although the curse faction is also the only curse power faction in the Jujutsu world, they are also people who are very aware of current affairs. Since Zenin Shear is so strong, then they should not bring up sensitive topics. At least, they will not bring up topics about the power of magic in front of Zen and Sheer until there is someone among them who can defeat Zen and Sheer. Who is this? Yagyu Yusuke knows Gojo Satoru and his identity, but he doesn't know much about Zenon's identity. After all, Zenon doesn't have any magical powers and is unlikely to make a name for himself in the world of Jujutsu. Many people have not heard of his name. This is a member of the Zenon family, Zenon. Gojo Shongyan introduced Zenon to Yagyu Yusuke, and then turned his attention to Gojo Shunichi. Shunichi, you are so rude. Gojo's hospitality is not to make guests wait for such a long time. Gojo Shongyan has calmed down a lot because of the presence of Gojo Satoru, but his tone is still very stern. After all, this was a competition that he took very seriously, and he still couldn't remain calm after being so slacked off by Gojo Shunichi. However, Gojo Shunny was speechless when faced with Gojo Shongyan's accusation. It was obviously Gojo Shongyan who failed to convey the information properly. Who can blame him? If Yagyu Zeman hadn't already arrived at the dojo, he would never have bothered to come here to face a losing battle. As Gojo Satoru and Zenon sat down, a chilling atmosphere began to brew in the entire dojo. The fight is about to begin. In the forge house in the distance, Gojo Ming looked at the prompts coming from the system and felt very happy. During the Battle of the Sword Borrower, the corresponding experience will be converted, and the swordsmanship experience +1. During the Battle of the Sword Borrower, the corresponding experience will be converted, and the swordsmanship experience +1. During the Battle of the Sword Borrower, the corresponding experience will be converted, and the swordsmanship experience +1. It seems that the kendo competition has already begun. I don't know who is stronger, the kendo master of the Yagyu family or the kendo master of the Gojo family. Close black lens bracket. I hope the battle between the two can last longer, so that I can gain more wool. Close black lens bracket. Gojo Ming felt the experience prompts from the system, and his heart was suddenly filled with the joy of getting something for nothing. Then, he switched the perspective to Ching Chong's perspective, and a clear picture of Gojo's dojo appeared in front of him. However, what surprised him was that there was no sound at all inside the dojo. Right in front of him, a sturdy middle-aged man wearing a gray kimono was looking at himself, in shock, his eyes full of disbelief. And at the middle-aged man's feet, a sword was broken into 2 pieces, looking very miserable. What's going on? Your knife. Yagyu Zeman pointed at the clear insect in Gojo Shunichi's hand, almost speechless. The sword in his hand was not ordinary, it was also a cursed tool. However, after more than 10 fights with Gojo Shunichi, the weapon in his hand was cut off. This was the first time Yagyu Zeman encountered this kind of thing. Looking at the remains of the weapon at his feet, a trace of pain flashed through Yagyu Zeman's eyes. For every kendo master, weapons are their most trustworthy partners. No master is willing to change the weapon that is convenient for him. However, his old friend, who is famous for his toughness, was directly cut off by Gojo Shunny. Moreover, the weapon in Gojo Shunny's hand did not have any curling edge. This was completely beyond Yagyu Zeman's expectations. Gojo Shongyan and Yagyu Yusuke, who were witnesses on the side, were equally shocked when they saw this scene. They thought that the duel between the 2 masters of the Yagyu and Gojo families would be evenly matched, but they never thought that as soon as the duel started, Yagyu Zeman's weapon was cut off. With the end of the duel, the disciples of the Yagyu family presented their weapons and temporarily let Yagyu Zeman use them. During this gap, Gojo was extremely shocked by the intensity of Ching Chong. So, is this the true strength of the Zanpakuto? Thinking that when he and Gojo Naru were betting against each other, he actually fought dozens of swords against Soda Nori and Soda Shirayuki, Gojo Shunny suddenly felt a sense of fear in his heart. If Gojo Ming's strength was the same as mine, I'm afraid that my own Ming would also be directly cut off by Soda Shirayuki, right? Seeing Yagyu Zeman wielding the weapon he was not comfortable with, a trace of sympathy flashed in Gojo's eyes. At the same time, he felt a glimmer of confidence in this kendo duel that he was not sure about at all. Although he was not sufficiently prepared, the unexpected surprise of Ching Chong seemed to have given him an invincible position. 5 minutes later, as all the weapons of the Yagyu family's entourage were cut off by Ching Chong, a trace of embarrassment appeared on Gojo's own face. At this moment, not only Yagyu Zeman in the kendo duel, but even Yagyu Yusuke, who was standing by with Gojo Shangyan as a witness, turned green. This is completely shameless. What is going on? Katanas are really expensive. Is this a kendo competition or a weapons competition? What is the material of the weapon in Gojo Shunichi's hand and why is it so powerful? Close black lens bracket. Yagyu Yusuke glanced at Gojo Shangyan beside him, his eyes full of doubt. If it weren't for the fact that the Yagyu family had initiated this duel, he would really have suspected whether this was a trap set by Gojo Shangyan, an old fox. When Yusuke Yagyu was suspicious, Gojo Shangyan's eyes were also full of surprise. As the leader of the Gemini Curse faction, he naturally knows the information about the people within the faction. He knew very well that the weapon in Gojo Shunni's hand was not his usual Xingming. It was a completely new weapon, far stronger than the Xingming. Thinking that during this month, Gojo Shunni basically spent time in the forging house, he couldn't help but think in one direction. Could this be a Zanpakuto? Close black lens bracket. Gojo Shangyan frowned, but then he shook his head and suppressed the thought that emerged in his mind. Open black lens bracket. Impossible. Gojo Ming spent a huge amount of cursed tool for such a long time, but he was still unable to forge this weird cursed tool. It couldn't be forged by such a coincidence today. Close black lens bracket. Moreover, if the Zanpakuto was really forged, how could Gojo Ming give such a precious cursed tool to Shunni? If this kind of Zanpakuto is taken out, it will definitely be exchanged for a lot of resources. No matter how you look at it, it is more cost-effective than giving it to Gojo Shunichi. Close black lens bracket. Is Gojo's heart so big? Doesn't Gojo Ming know that Shunni is a member of the Curse faction? This is simply impossible, they have had conflicts before. Close black lens bracket. Comparing his feelings, Gojo Shangyan would not think that Gojo Ming could not be so generous. Although Gojo Shunni had some conflicts with the faction at this time, after all, Gojo Shunni was once a person who firmly resisted Gojo Ming. In this situation, normal people will feel a thorn in their hearts and be wary, right? Anyway, thinking from his perspective, it is absolutely impossible for him to do such a thing, so Gojo Shangyan felt that he was overthinking. Maybe Wei Ming was scrapped by Gojo Ming, so cursed toolmaster Gojo Zui felt sorry for helping Gojo Shunni reforge the weapon, right? The prejudice in people's hearts is an insurmountable mountain. In the face of reality, many people only believe what they want to believe. Such intensity is really something. This guy Gojo Ming, well, this time when I go back to Zenin's house, I really need to help him find a cursed tool that meets the requirements. Close black lens bracket. Since he can make such a specific and detailed request, it seems that this Master Gojo Ming must have found a specific method of forging. Close black lens bracket. The corners of Zenin's mouth raised slightly. He was looking forward to what kind of Zanpakuto Gojo Ming could forge when he took out the cursed tool that Gojo Ming needed. Just Ching Chong can make a swordsman master crush others on the weapon, and this does not include Ching Chong's own skills. If and when Gojo Shunni truly masters the power of clear insects, perhaps Gojo Shunni will be able to cross the threshold of the second-level Jujutsu Master and become a first-level Jujutsu Master. In that case, Gojo Shunni may have a higher say in the entire Gojo family, right? Zenin glanced at Gojo Shangyan aside calmly and shook his head secretly. My thinking is still too old-fashioned and I don't realize the power and importance of the Zanpakuto. In front of this kind of cursed tool, how could anyone treat Gojo Ming as a waste? Close black lens bracket. The arrogance of these old guys will only make them pay the corresponding price in the end. Little guy, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the expressions of these old guys will be like one day after you take charge of the Gojo family. Close black lens bracket. Thinking of this, Zenin's eyes narrowed, and the smile on his face could no longer be concealed. At the same time, Gojo Satoru next to Zenin had a proud expression on his face. A 6-year-old boy, with blue eyes from the sky, but a smile on his immature face that was completely inconsistent with his current temperament. At this time, the enlightenment of human beings has begun to take shape. Whenever someone comes to ask him why he is laughing at this time, he will definitely tell everyone that this is a Zanpakuto, and this Zanpakuto was forged by his younger brother. He will show off all of Gojo's cock. Zanpakuto, Zanpakuto. Soda no Shirayuki and Kiyomizu, these cursed tools are too powerful. I must ask Ming to forge a unique Zanpakuto for me. Close black lens bracket. Haha, that's it, that's it. Is this the kendo competition? Close black lens bracket. The weapons are all gone, what else is there to try? Fortunately, there was a clear insect forged by a Ming, otherwise Shunyi would have lost miserably this time. Close black lens bracket. Gojo Satoru touched his chin, looked at the broken katana swords on the ground, and kept nodding. Under this situation, he wanted to see who else in the Gojo family dared to look down on his younger brother. Although he is still young, Six Eyes' character has already matured. The Curse Party's opposition to Gojo Ming and the Elder Party's wavering towards Gojo Ming were all taken into heart by Gojo Satoru. Previously, it was because Gojo Ming had not been able to forge a second Zanpakuto, so he could only hold back any emotions he had. But now, he has completely let go. The Zanpakuto forged by Gojo Ming provided him with enough confidence and a foundation for Gojo Ming. How are you? Are you looking forward to your future Zanpakuto? Gojo Satoru gently pressed against Zenin's ribs, his face filled with pleasure. I'm looking forward to it, but you should be looking forward to it even more, right? You, this guy, will definitely be ranked ahead of me, right? Zenin raised his eyebrows. Although he said he was looking forward to it, he looked indifferent. That's true. Gojo Satoru did not refute. He also believed that as long as Gojo Ming found the rules for forging the Zanpakuto, then Gojo Ming would definitely give priority to helping him forge the Zanpakuto. This is also an agreement between their brothers. However, the insect clearing tool forged by a Ming is quite strong. I'm afraid it really has to meet the standards of a first-level cursed tool. Gojo Satoru's Six Eyes looked at the Zanpakuto Kiyomizu. According to the ability displayed by Kiyomizu so far combined with the mysterious technique of the Zanpakuto, it is not an exaggeration to rate it as a first-level cursed tool. Although, Gojo Ming said before that the level of the Zanpakuto he forged will not be divided according to the level of ordinary cursed tool. However, for Gojo Satoru and Zenin, before Gojo Ming established a Zanpakuto rating system, they could only use the current most common cursed tool level to measure Chingmushi. There is a level 1 cursed tool. This strength alone can already increase a lot of points. Zenin nodded. I have seen the strength of the first level cursed tool at Zenin's house before, and the hardness is only that. As long as the insect clearing technique is not bad, it is more than enough to be rated as a first level cursed tool. As for whether Chingmushi's Zanpakuto will have a useless technique, neither Zenin nor Gojo Satoru think this will happen. After all, Soda Shirayuki's stunning appearance was right in front of them. The existence that can be named Zanpakuto by Gojo Ming is absolutely impossible to be so useless. If it really loses the reputation of Chingmushi, then it is only possible that Gojo Shunichi has not been able to fully exert the strength of Chingmushi. How about we end this competition here? Gojo looked at the strange silence around him and came back to his senses. The opponents no longer have weapons to fight, so do they still have to fight with bare hands? In any case, this is considered a kendo competition. Without weapons, how can we talk about kendo? Could it be that you really use the so-called sword of the heart to kill? Gojo's voice instantly broke the calm of the dojo. Everyone around him recovered from the shock and began to whisper among themselves. The Gojo family's weapons are so powerful. Master Shunichi's weapons are completely superior to Master Zeman. There is no need to fight. Yes, this is not on the same level at all. If two people use the same weapon, Master Zeman will definitely be able to defeat Master Shunichi. However, kendo competitions at this level originally use their own weapons. We can't say there is anything wrong with Master Shunichi, right? We can only say that the weapons currently provided by our Yagyu family to Master Zeman are too different. Quote. The words of a Yagyu family cutting paper caused the other Yagyu Shininryu disciples to fall into silence. At this moment, everyone realized the importance of a weapon to them. However, the Yagyu family has a poor reputation in the Jujutsu world, and they even need to challenge the Gojo family in kendo to maintain their reputation. Under such circumstances, how could the family provide more resources to kendo master Yagyu Zeman? It's not that the family is unwilling, but that the family's financial resources are limited. Moreover, how can a katana of Ching Chong's level be purchased at will just by spending money? On the other side, the disciples of the Gojo family's Jiryu were full of excitement. Master Shunichi is too strong. Although he looks a bit bullying, it's really cool. Why does Yagyu Shinin Ryu show off his power on our territory of Kyokushin Ryu? Yes, even though Master Shunny has not been in the dojo recently, he is still well prepared. Using weapons as a trump card is probably Master Shunny expressing his dissatisfaction with Yagyu Shininryu. Who says otherwise? Master Shunny has a bad temper to begin with, and now the Yagyu family wants to use him as a stepping stone. No one would be happy to do this kind of thing, right? You used to show off your power here. Now, are you speechless? Although it is a bit disrespectful, Master Zeman's expression is really funny. The disciples of Gojo Kyoryu looked at Yagyu Zeman's uncertain expression, and a trace of sympathy suddenly appeared in his originally excited expression. I'm afraid Yagyu Zeman didn't expect this kind of thing at all, right? Many spectators held a kind of mentality of eating melon, whispering to each other, this state also has the mentality of Yagyu Shininryu. Katetsu, we have never seen the weapon in the hands of Master Shunny before. Didn't the master use Xingming before? Why did it suddenly change? Although this weapon looks ugly, there is really nothing to say about its strength. Quote. Gojo Katetsu was already surrounded by a group of friends. Although everyone was from the same sect, they still had close relationships within the entire dojo. Gojo Katetsu will be assigned to call Gojo Shunny this time because he is Gojo Shunny's most valued disciple. Facing the gossipy looks of many senior brothers, Gojo scratched his head in embarrassment. Although Master Shunny favored him, he saw Gojo Shunny only a handful of times in this month. However, the only thing he can be sure of is that when he met Gojo Shunny yesterday, the weapon in Gojo Shunny's hand was still the scorpion. Today in the forging house, he didn't see Xingming at all. Think of the rumors about Master Gojo Ming's cursed tool this month. It reminds me of the state when I entered the forging house and saw Master Shunny testing the sword. It reminds me of the scene where Master Shunny is about to hand over the weapon to Master Gojo Naru before leaving. Gojo Katetsu probably guessed what happened to Ming Ming, and also guessed that the weapon in Gojo Shunichi's hand was most likely forged by Master Gojo Ming. This weapon should have been circulated among the family during this period of time. Zanpakudo. After hearing Gojo Katetsu express his guess, all the Gojo-ji Ryu disciples beside him also fell silent. In the entire Gojo-ji style, due to the influence of the elder Gojo Shongyan and the curse sect's position before the teacher Gojo Shunichi, the disciples of the entire Gojo-ji style are actually more inclined to the twin curse sect. Now, when they heard that Master Gojo, whom the elder had been hostile to, might have actually forged a second Zanpakudo, they were shocked and began to think about their respective positions. The disciples whose previous positions were not in line with the curse sect felt that Gojo Naru, as Six Eyes and the younger brother of Master Gojo Satoru, should not be treated in such an isolated manner within the family. They learned swordsmanship and are full of respect for the swordsmith. Although Gojo Ming is only 6 years old, he has forged 2 Zanpakudo, and he is already enough to be worshipped in the field of swordsmith. On the other side, the students who stood firmer looked depressed. They didn't think that Gojo Ming could forge a second Zanpakudo. After all, the news of the failure coming from the forging house in the past month had already made their ears feel calloused. How is it possible that if you failed yesterday, you can succeed today? And according to Katetsu, it is possible that Master Shunny's Ming Ming was used. Could it be that Gojo Ming didn't expect Master Shunny to compete today? If Shu Ming also collapsed, wouldn't Master Shunichi end up in the same fate as Master Yaguzeman after this competition? This does not make sense. The actual situation is also the same. Whenever Gojo Ming knew that Gojo Shunny had a sword competition, he would not take the risk easily. But, it's a pity that Gojo Ming doesn't know. Even the real owner of the entire competition, Gojo Shunichi himself, didn't know about this. It is also because of this that the Zanpakudo Kiyomizu was born in such an unexpected way. It's not clear whether it's a Zanpakudo or not. We can't guess at will. However, I am skeptical about this matter. How can it be so easy to forge cursed tool? Master Gojo Ming is still so young, Sasota Shirayuki's birth should be just a coincidence. Finally, Gojo ended the whole topic. He is Gojo's elder brother, and at the same time, he is also the grandson of elder Gojo Shongyan. Regardless of whether he recognized Gojo Ming in his heart or not, whether he thought the weapon in Gojo Shunichi's hand was a Zanpakuto. At this moment, he needs to stand in the same position as his grandfather. Gojo Ming is the foundation for the establishment of the curse faction of the Gojo family. Without Gojo Ming, elder Gojo Shangyan would not have such great power. Without Gojo Ming, Gojo Jiiliu would not be able to develop faster and faster with the support of other family members. This is a paradox. The twin curse faction hates Gojo Ming, and at the same time, they can't live without Gojo Ming. Facing Gojo Shunyi's question, Yagayu Zeman's face darkened and he remained silent. He didn't want it to end like this, but reality slapped him in the face. Now that I have no weapons, what else can I do if I don't end it? Yagayu Zeman snorted coldly, ignored Gojo Shunichi, and turned around to leave Gojo's Kyokuryu dojo. Seeing this scene, many disciples of Yagayu Shininryu also quickly stood up and followed. As a witness, Yagayu Yusuke also nodded slightly to Gojo Shangyan and Gojo Satoru to express his apology. Zoemin was a little rude today. I hope Master Shangyan and Master Wu don't mind. He is a person with a hot temper. He encountered so many bad things today and couldn't control his emotions. His control still needs to be improved. As Yusuke Yagayu stood up, Gojo Shangyan also stood up to show respect. With the departure of Yagayu Zeman, it was natural that Gojo won the final victory in this kendo duel. As the winning side, Gojo Shangyan naturally showed the attitude of a winner. Shunichi and Zeman are both hot-tempered people, so it's normal to not care about etiquette. This time, it's also hard for Mr. Yagayu Yusuke to come here in person. Please forgive me for the poor reception. Gojo Shangyan didn't care at all about Yagayu Zeman's behavior in his words. Although Gojo Shunichi has some conflicts with the curse faction at this time, Gojo's ultimate flow has always been his sphere of influence. Gojo Shunichi defeated Yagayu Zeman. Although the process seems very nonsensical, it will not affect Gojo's reputation in the kendo world at all. In the world of Jujutsu, the Gojo family is a well-deserved behemoth, far surpassing the Yagayu family. However, in the kendo world, the reputation of the Yagayu family is still very valued. Now, being able to suppress the Yagayu family in both Jujutsu and Kendo is a great achievement for him in family management. The head of the family has been ill recently and has to rely on reversal spells to forcibly stay alive. Who will manage the family in the future will definitely have to choose one from among the elders. Although Gojo Satoru is destined to be the head of the family in the future, after all, he is still young and does not have that much energy to take on the mundane affairs of the family. Then, I might be able to become the actual leader of the Gojo family in the future. Therefore, he will not give up this opportunity to gain fame for the Gojo family. This will be a great asset for him to compete for power in the future. Originally, the twin curse faction was very powerful in the Gojo family, but now it has the power to crush the Yagayu family's swordsmanship, and other elders are not qualified to compete with him. However, this time Gojo Shunyi's weapon still became a problem in Gojo Shangyan's heart. Was this mysterious weapon forged by Gojo Zui or Gojo Ming? Gojo Shangyan was puzzled. After all the members of the Yagayu family evacuated, the entire dojo finally returned to its daily calm atmosphere, but this atmosphere was also mixed with noisy sounds. Master, what is the name of this weapon? This weapon is so powerful. Master, where did you get it? Master, don't you forget me when you are good. I am your beloved disciple, and I will inherit your legacy from now on. Quote. Facing the inquiries from the disciples around him, Gojo's expression was a little awkward. He didn't know how to respond to his disciples. This time, he won by chance because of Gojo Ming's Zanpakuto. However, this Zanpakuto still belongs to Gojo Ming, and he cannot default to it as his own. Just when Gojo was confused, a heavy coughing sound suddenly came. Have you all finished your homework for today? What do you think each one looks like? Go ahead and give me 100 blows. Gojo Shangyan's voice came, and the many Ji-Ryu disciples surrounding Gojo Shunyi immediately dispersed. They didn't dare to say a word, and just stood aside silently with their wooden swords in hand. In the middle of the entire Gojo Jyu dojo, only Gojo Shunyi and Gojo Shangyan were left looking at each other silently. After a long time, Gojo Shangyan took the initiative and said, Congratulations on your victory over Yagyu Zeman this time. At least for this year, you should be able to maintain your position as one of the 4 great masters of Kendo. Gojo Shangyan's expression was a little cold. Although his words contained blessings, no one could feel any emotional fluctuations. All this is because of the Zanpakuto forged by Master Gojo Naru. Gojo instantly raised his hand to clear the insects. He wanted Gojo Shangyan to realize Gojo Ming's talent and realize that Gojo Ming should not be isolated before. Now, Gojo Ming has been able to forge the second Zanpakuto, which has proved that Gojo Ming can bring help to Gojo Satoru, not curse as they say. The moment the 3 words Zanpakuto were spoken, all the Kyokushin Ryu disciples present at Sugen froze, and Sugen's movements paused for half a minute. Really, this weapon is indeed the mysterious Zanpakuto. All Ji-Ryu disciples at the scene had this thought in their minds. It would be great if they could also possess such a powerful weapon. Elder Shangyan, Master Ming should not be treated like this. Gojo Shunichi wants to get normal treatment from the curse faction for Gojo Ming. When Yagyu Yusuke left just now, Gojo Satoru and Zenin also left with him, so at this moment, Gojo Shunny had no scruples about speaking. You have also seen the power of this Zanpakuto to clear insects. Can't such a cursed tool be able to help Master Satoru? Master Ming and Master Wu are born as 6-eyes twins. When the 2 of them are paired together, they can definitely produce the effect of 1 + 1 being greater than 2. The theory of pseudo 6-eyes is also an argument put forward by the Gemini Curse faction. Now, Gojo Shunny wants to erase this. 6-eyes is 6-eyes. Is it just because Gojo Naru has no magic power in his body that his pair of 6-eyes are fake? The disciples around him were a little shaken by Gojo Shunny's words, and they all subconsciously looked at Gojo Shangyan. As the leader of the curse faction, how will Gojo Shangyan respond? Shunichi, you said this is a Zanpakuto. Is it a cursed tool of the same nature as Sota Shirayuki? Gojo Shangyan did not directly respond to Gojo Shunny's words, but only asked a rhetorical question, asking for information about Ching Chong. Gojo Shunny was a little confused, but he still nodded. Yes, Lord Shangyan. Ching Chong is a Zanpakuto, the cursed tool that Master Ming just forged today. Gojo's words were full of pride. However, he was completely unaware of the true meaning of Gojo Shangyan's question. Oh, you said your sword is a Zanpakuto and its name is Chingmushi. Then can you make this Seiju use the same techniques as Gojo Naru's Sota Shirayuki? Since it is a Zanpakuto, there should be corresponding techniques, right? Gojo Shangyan's question made Gojo's expression freeze for a moment. Here, I don't know how to use the insect clearing technique for the time being. However, you have seen the intensity of insect clearing. It is not comparable to the ordinary cursed tool. Gojo Shunny argued hard, but Gojo Shangyan shook his head. Since the technique cannot be used, then this sword should not be a Zanpakuto, but at most a strong and hard cursed tool. Gojo Shangyan determined the identity of Ching Chong and classified it as an ordinary cursed tool. Gojo Shangyan saw the current flaws of this Zanpakuto at a glance. In other words, it is Gojo Shunichi's flaw as a Zanpakuto user. He guessed that Gojo Shunichi, who had just received the Zanpakuto, would definitely not be able to use the techniques of the Zanpakuto as freely as Gojo Ming. Regarding whether Chingmushi is a Zanpakuto, Gojo Shangyan knows that Gojo Shunichi will not lie to him. However, at this moment, he absolutely cannot admit that this cursed tool is a Zanpakuto. At least, the reason why Gojo Kyokusui Ryu cannot defeat Yagyu Shinin Ryu is attributed to Gojo Naru's Zanpakuto. Now, because Gojo Shunichi is unable to use the technique, there is always doubt as to whether this Kiyomizu is a Zanpakuto. As long as the explanation is unclear, then this atmosphere of doubt is also the best situation for him at the moment. At least in this case, he can still have the corresponding controllable space. The twin curse faction of the Gojo family must seize a greater say in the family before Gojo Ming can prove that Chingmushi is a Zanpakuto. The matter was urgent and he had to seize this time. Before the head of the family appoints the next successor, he must have sufficient power and influence. However, before that, he had to temporarily transfer Shunny Gojo, who possessed the clear insect, away from Gojo's house. Shunny, you have been wasting too much time in the family recently. Previously, I have asked the first-level Jujutsu masters within the family to make a joint recommendation to the association. By recommending you, you will be promoted to the first-level Jujutsu master. You already have the strength of a first-level Jujutsu master, so you shouldn't stop at the second level. Gojo Shangyan conveyed the instructions of the Jujutsu Master Association. In the following time, Gojo Shunyi needs to cooperate with a first-level Jujutsu master to perform tasks. In the future, Gojo Shunichi should no longer affect the position of people within the faction. Why didn't I know? Gojo Shunichi's face was full of shock. He had been in the second-level Jujutsu division for a long time, not whether he needed to be promoted. After all, promotion is very troublesome and requires the recommendation of many first-level Jujutsu masters, which is really unnecessary. He had no idea that Gojo Shangyan would arrange for other Jujutsu masters to recommend him without his knowledge. Gojo's eyes suddenly flashed with a hint of coldness. Gojo Shangyan, what exactly do you want to do? Close black lens bracket. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.